Creating the world for the stage adaptation of the 1990 movie Pretty Woman was a juicy task for set designer David Rockwell and costume designer Gregg. They had to find a way to honor the film's Los Angeles locations, wink at the famous get-ups, and also make their designs theatrical and original. Here's more about the look of Pretty Woman the musical from the frequent collaborators.
I think the main challenge in designing Pretty Woman has been to meet people's expectations so that they're not disappointed in this film that they've come to love, but yet to reinvent it, to make it feel new.
In the case of Pretty Woman, you're creating your own world, you're creating a theatrical world. So the movie has not much helped us as designers, because I think quoting from a movie is unsatisfying and doesn't really get at what the key idea is.
We get to meet people from all different walks of life. We get to meet the people that inhabit the seedier side of Hollywood Boulevard. We go to Rodeo Drive, where we give an homage to Versace and Christian Lacroix and Chanel. There's a lot of different kinds of life to the story, which I find thrilling.
Rockwell and Barnes reveal what inspired their own creative spin on the world of Pretty Woman besides the movie.
I did spend a lot of time in LA and Beverly Wilshire and sort of walked those locations. The visual look of the late 80s in LA is not that different from what it looks like now, other than some of the retail locations have a kind of 80s extended curved line. The challenge was, how do you put fragments on stage that would suggest the idea of the Beverly Wilshire? And we have one laser cut layered gate, which we use as the primary setting of the Beverly Wilshire, with pairs of palm trees that can move throughout the show, so they almost can create an iris. So you can close in these palm trees around the Beverly Wilshire sign and then iris open.
Recently, my go-to process is to go to Pinterest, and I just make a Pretty Woman file. Anybody in the world can access it if you look me up on Pinterest. And I just put anything in there that seems like it looks like Pretty Woman to me. So I have Joan Collins in there from Dynasty, but I also have Amal Clooney, garments that are from the 1950s that are very classic, that I thought could translate into what we think a really well-dressed, elegantly turned out woman would wear. So I assemble all of these images that are really just intuitive, and then I start to go through them and just conjure up our version of the look. The look that we most closely, I don't want to say copy, but that we really, really do bow to is Vivian Street look. And it has the classic ring, it's like a little t-shirt. Everybody knows it. We put our little touch to it. It has little mesh bits, and I think the one in the film scoops up in the back. I think there's a second ring, and ours is just backless. But really, it's pretty much the film. The thing that's amazing about the character of Vivian is that she really, like all good characters, goes on a real journey. When we first meet her, she's dressing for a purpose. It's to seduce. And as the story unfolds, initially somebody else picks the dress that she wears. Then we see her pick her own dress. The final garment that Vivian wears is a pantsuit, and it has a very, very classic silk charmeuse halter top, but it also looks a little rock and roll. So it's elegant, but it feels current and also timeless.
The duo has previously collaborated on screen-to-stage hits like Kinky Boots, Legally Blonde, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and more.
David Rockwell is a person that I've also, like with Jerry Mitchell, we've collaborated many times, and it's a very important collaboration, and it has to do with color, but also just with the mood, the shape, the movement, how much scenery there is.
An example of where we really collaborated is when there's a sort of color idea that's happening in the physical world, like the opera. You have to take into account the costumes, the actor, and what they're doing in some ways need to be supported and offset by the physical world. We knew she was going to be wearing a stunning red dress in the opera, so the curtain that comes in front of it is actually a translucent copper curtain, and you see her against that. So we clearly had to stay away from the red she was wearing, but wanted to create other color schemes like a jewel that would offset that.
The opera dress is legendary. When I looked at the dress, which is a magnificent dress, the first thing that I really noticed was that it's very, very structured. It's a gown and it's very of the period. The skirt is quite sculpted. It has those legendary, if I may, swags off the shoulder. We realized a lot of times the dresses now, currently, that are on the red carpet are very romantic and flowing. It's not at all really the Julia dress. So what we did was we took inspiration from this part of the dress and then mix-mastered it with a lot of other dresses to come up with our version of it.
Though Pretty Woman is a movie audiences adore, Rockwell and Barnes share why this project works so well on stage.
Sometimes a project comes along where, not that I've ever given birth, but you feel like some births probably are easier than others. This project, where the baby just came out all shiny and beautiful, every moment of it was joyful.
What excites me about this show is it takes 1,200 people and puts them in the same space and creates a kind of community around this love story. And I think that is something theater does better than any other art form.
See Pretty Woman the musical at the Nederlander Theater.